Hello, welcome to the Bibliovert Games. My name is Jacqueline, and for today's video, I have decided to start a brand new Animal Crossing island. I'm going to be completely honest, it has been a little while since I've played this game. I've dilly-dallied a little bit here and there to kind of remember how to do things, but by and large, it's been since 2020 since I've really played this game. So I ended up staring at these maps for about 20 minutes trying to pick out which one I wanted, totally forgetting that you can re-roll and get a new set of maps. But the one that I ended up going with, I absolutely love it. I'm so happy with it. So I really feel like I lucked out. And here's our first look at the island. We have apples as our starting fruit, which apples and peaches are my two favorites. So I'm so happy about that. And we also have Bam and Flo as our starting villagers, which I think they are so stinking cute. I'm pretty sure Flo was one of my original starting villagers, so it just kind of feels sweet and I'm happy about it. We also have an orange airport, which I personally don't particularly care what color my airport is, so that works fine with me. I decided to put my tent in the back left corner here, which I honestly do like it. It does kind of get in the way with like vaulting across the river every once in a while, but I had seen a bunch of other content creators saying that like put everyone on the beach, and I do, now that I'm actually at terraforming, I do kind of regret that a little bit, but I ended up really liking where I put Flo and Bam's tent, so I do think it worked out pretty well. We need to talk about how cute this moment is when Flo runs away. I just stared after her, like, she doesn't use her upper body at all, but it's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Also, something that I'm kind of embarrassed to admit out loud is I think my favorite part about Animal Crossing is picking up the weeds. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact that it goes from being like messy and unkempt to like clean and pristine, but I love picking up the weeds. And so I really struggled with where to put Bam's tent because I ended up putting it over a lot of the weeds, which would have been really fun to pick up. But I cut out so much footage of me trying to find another place to put his tent instead of like this massive clump of weeds. But I did end up really enjoying how it turned out. It eventually becomes like a little villager area, which I think is really cute. Now begins the fiasco of me picking up the weeds. I don't know what it is. I can't stop. But I do promise you from here on out, I will cut this footage from all remaining videos so you don't have to watch this. For weeks leading up to starting this island, I knew that I wanted to call it Willowwood, and I was so excited. And then I get to naming the island and it won't fit, and it makes me really sad. So I try a bunch of other stuff, but decide to stick to our roots since we are bookish to instead name my island inspired by the Oakwald forest in Throne of Glass, so that's what I went with. I also remember on my very first time playing this game, I, for some reason, was really worried that the name that I chose for the island would not get chosen and that I was going to end up with Isle de Biceps, and I, worried about it. I had also completely forgotten that your very first night when you fall asleep, you dream about KK and he calls you Daddy-O. And that made me cackle, so I decided to keep it in the video. My goals for the first 4 days are to get as many Nook Miles as possible, to make some money, craft some tools, start the museum process, and to upgrade my home. The plan that I have for my island right now is kind of that cottage core cozy vibe. So I don't have any villagers picked out for who I want to be on the island right now. I figure that as I meet them, I can add them. But in terms of for this channel, Historically, what I've done on Bibliovert Games is like long form content with no commentary for Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. But when I started thinking about doing Animal Crossing, I put a poll up on our Instagram stories and y'all said shorter content with commentary. So that's what we're trying out. So I'm begging you to give me feedback if I'm talking too much, not talking enough, if I'm doing something in the game wrong, if you want to see something in particular, please just let me know and I can change it and adjust it, because this is my first time to add commentary to playing a game, so I would love your thoughts on what I should do. I spent pretty much the entire day doing a lot of fishing, a lot of catching bugs, so I was able to go ahead and pick out the location for Blather's tent. I then changed the comment on my passport, and Rascally Papa was just really calling out to me, so definitely went with that one. And I also made a design and did a little bee for Bibliovert. I then purchased some flowers and went ahead and planted those down, and I was able to upgrade my home. Shot down my first balloon, which ended up being an hourglass, and I'm so happy with it. It perfectly fits the theme of this island. So that is all of my goals for today, checked and completed, and it is now on to day 2. Day 2 started off with my very first home upgrade. I chose the blue roof and I love it. And our mother also sent us pears, which is perfect. We can plant those and get another fruit variety on the island. But I also wanted to check out the inside of my house. It's a little bit bigger, which is wonderful. And in addition to this upgrade, we also now get Nook Miles Plus, so we can get bonus miles. I wanted to celebrate by taking a picture of all of the fish and bugs that I've collected thus far and celebrate the occasion. So I went ahead and I gathered up all of my fish and bugs to head to Blather's to go ahead and make a donation. In order to upgrade the museum, we need 15 donations, which I have 13. So we need to get 2 more, and he gives us a vaulting pole so that we can go collect fossils across the river. I saved this moment because of how humiliating it is. It took me 8 tries to catch this butterfly. It's so bad. I made the vaulting pole and I also dug up the first of the fossils. So the goals that I have for day 2 are to upgrade the next cranny, which means that we will need to have 30 pieces of regular wood, 30 pieces of hardwood, and 30 pieces of softwood, as well as 30 iron nuggets. I also want to get the pocket organizer so that we can have more space, as well as upgrading the museum and meeting new villagers to invite them to my island. I started the task to collect as much wood as possible, chopping the trees, collecting the apples. I wanted to make as much money as I possibly could this day, and I ran into my first wasp nest of the day. I gave it a valiant effort and thought I would be able to pull out my net in time, but lo and behold, I was defeated by the wasps. I also met Gulliver for the first time today and promptly forgot about him. Sorry, Gulliver. I was able to go ahead and make a donation for all of the different wood types, as well as get my pocket organization guide, so we have a little bit more room now. And I went ahead and donated 2 fossils to the museum, so we have now reached our goal of 15 donations, and we even have some leftover fossils. Since I still needed more iron nuggets, I decided to use my Nook Miles ticket and go visit an island, and while I was there, I ran into more wasps. Again, put up a valiant effort, and again, lost. So 2 wasp nests on day 2 felt poetic. While we were there, I ran into Norma, who I just think is the cutest little villager. So I decided to invite her to come live on our island. And I am so happy that she was the very first villager that we ran into and could invite to our home. And now marks one of the stupidest things I've ever done. I specifically am visiting these islands to get enough iron to upgrade Nook's Cranny. And when I was on the previous Nook Mile Island, I had eaten some fruit to see if I could could chop down a tree with like my regular axe. I just couldn't remember what that process was. The answer is no. You have to have like the big baddie axe, but I had forgotten that I had ingested the fruit, and so when I go to get iron, I strike the rock and it understandably immediately crumbles, and I just stand there looking at it like, you are so dumb. But good news, we got it. We collected enough iron. We didn't have to go to a third Nook Mile island. While I was here, I ran into Bubbles, and I thought long and hard about whether or not to invite them to our island, but at the end of the day, I decided let's keep going and see if we can find someone who would fit our island a little bit better. I was able to make my donation of 30 iron nuggets and then given the task of where to put the new Nook's Cranny. I tested out a couple of different places. This one is specifically kind of the little middle island area, but I felt like it was covering up the waterfall too much. But instead, I decided to cross over the next river and put Nook's Cranny in the back far right corner of my island, and I really like it. So with upgrading Nook's Cranny, getting the vaulting pole, upgrading my pockets, upgrading the museum, and meeting a villager to come live on our island, we have accomplished everything for day 2. Starting off day 3, we met Mabel at Nook's Cranny, which is exciting because we are soon going to have a clothing shop on the island. I also made some purchases, specifically the ship in a bottle, which I really love. And I also went ahead and purchased a swimsuit so we can officially go fishing. And lastly, I purchased a few DIY recipes as well as some really beautiful wallpaper. This is one of my personal favorites, so I'm excited to use it in my house. I also talked to Tom Nook, and the next step was to build a bridge on the island, so I needed to build some log stakes and get that going, and I went ahead and placed it on the right side of my island going towards Nook's Cranny. I went back to Tom Nook and he told me that the next step was to place down these 3 plots with housing kits, as well as build indoor and outdoor furniture for each one of these plots. I do have a few goals for day 3, and that is to go ahead and build a bridge, which check, to pick out the location of the 3 plots, and go ahead and build all of the interior and exterior furniture, to get my ladder to access every part of the island, and to finally go swimming and collect fish that way. Since one of them required our island flower to make a wreath, Tom did give us a ladder so that we could go collect them, so we now have access to every part of our island. We didn't talk about this earlier, but I just feel like I completely lucked out. Windflowers are my favorite flowers in Animal Crossing, so not only do I have an awesome island design that I absolutely love, but I really love my 2 starting villagers and Norma, and I have windflowers and apples, so I just feel like I lucked out in every single way possible. I do feel a little bit goofy. Yesterday I collected all of these apples and sold them, and then completely forgot that I was going to need to have my starting fruit in order to make some of the interior furniture for the house. So I had to run to Nook's Cranny to go ahead and purchase that to make those items. I did a little bit of redecorating the inside of my home. And I finally went swimming and made donations of all of the deep sea critters that I caught. I was able to end the day with around 63,000 bells, so I feel like I'm making some good money. But that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please let me know if there's anything else that I should be doing or that you would like to see in this video. If you would like to see the long form content with no commentary, just let me know and I can upload those as well. But I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll see you next time.